In the early 19th century, Charles Kenny purchased a riverside property in the Pittsburgh area to mine coal, using the site's adjoining river to ship goods. The land, decades later, evolved into a popular picnic park and eventually into a trolley park named Kennywood. In 1899, the park added a 12,000 square foot dance hall that hosted notable bands and performers. Meanwhile, Kennywood after the turn of the century was thriving, gaining the park's earliest roller coasters and attractions. However, as the Great Depression came, the park couldn't afford to invest in many new attractions. Nevertheless, the success of the dance hall, which eventually doubled as a roller rink in the winter, is what kept the park open through those difficult years. By the mid-1950s, swing music was in decline, and television was on the rise, keeping people from going out as often. Over time, Kennywood's dance hall had grown out of fashion, and the park decided to retire the dance hall building and convert it into a new walkthrough attraction called the Enchanted Forest. It had a newly themed facade, and inside, the funhouse-style attraction put patrons, typically younger kids, through a storybook setting of a small forest with scenes from fairy tales. Into the 60s, the walkthrough attraction was rethemed to the Enchanted Castle, carrying a darker tone with updated eerie sets and the addition of a dungeon scene. Over in New York City, the short-lived Freedomland USA theme park had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and closed permanently. The park sold off many assets, including an attraction called Tornado, which the owners sold to Kennywood in Pittsburgh. The relocated ride took over Kennywood's old dance hall building. When the venue housed the previous walkthrough attractions, the hardwood floor was covered up for protection in hopes the dance hall were to ever return. With the acquisition of the new Tornado ride, Kennywood committed the building to the attraction by carving into the hardwood floor to provide clearance for the ride track. The new ride, Tornado, opened in 1963. Tornado was a dark ride manufactured by Aero Development Company, a group known for its early Disneyland attractions. Tornado's well-themed barn-style facade set up the attraction's story that put guests in vintage cars through a Midwestern town being consumed by a tornado. The sets were themed to the Twister's wreckage, with various livestock overhead and high winds generated by fans blowing on riders throughout the attraction. Although Tornado was a popular attraction, park management decided that the large-scale dance hall venue would better be suited with a custom attraction to make the most of the space instead of the current relocated dark ride that came from a failed theme park. Tornado, which closed in 1966, lasted 4 short years in the park before being sold to New York City's Great Escape theme park. Kennywood had big plans to fill the old dance hall venue for its next operating season. Kennywood Park President Carl Henninger had an idea to repurpose the track and ride vehicles from the park's retired Laugh in the Dark attraction to use for a future ride. They got to work bending the old metal track to fit a new ride layout inside the old dance hall venue. Kennywood partnered with Amusement Display Associates to co-develop a new dark ride. The company was headed by industry legend Bill Tracy, who creatively collaborated with Kennywood's park management to come up with the park's next major attraction. 1967, the theme park landscape was swelling to a high tide. Disneyland debuted its newest boat ride, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Kennywood likewise introduced a major addition, Ghost Ship. The same venue that hosted big bands and memorable acts now was occupied by an unforgettable attraction. The building was decorated with an imposing facade featuring a shipwreck overtaken by a pirate skull that tilted back and forth with monstrous crab legs below. After queuing back and forth, guests boarded in 2 or 3 passenger ride vehicles themed to small ships. Ghost Ship started by jerking forward and taking a sharp right turn as the ride vehicle crashed into a set of doors that led into the attraction. Guests couldn't see much once inside the pitch-black Ghost Ship, but they heard a loud rattle throughout, caused by the attraction's 30-year-old chain-driven motor. The ride experience featured many scenes and illusions, including long disorienting caverns, winding hallways, rotating vortex barrels, and rocking sets to simulate the feeling of being on a boat. Exploring the ship, the ride encountered various skeletons, ghouls, and pirates until making its way onto the deck. There, riders faced the destruction of a sea monster's tentacles that forced them to a quote-unquote underwater section with clever lighting effects and the surrounding sounds of bubbles. On the ocean floor, riders came across a treasure chest guarded by a sea monster as the ride continued on through different illusions. The ride ended with a waterfall effect that stopped its flow as riders passed through. The nearly 2-minute ride instantly earned a reputation around the park. Ghost Ship would receive a few updates and improvements over the years, becoming among the more beloved and memorable attractions in the park's history. Kids were terrified of the gloomy dark ride experience, but it was Ghost Ship that had bleak stars ahead. June 19th, 1975. Kennywood was somewhat busy, hosting a picnic for local schools. Ghost Ship had been operating in the park for nearly a decade and was among Kennywood's more popular attractions. The dark ride offered relief on hot sunny days. However, just past noon on that Thursday, that cool indoor getaway quickly became much hotter than a summertime afternoon. Kennywood's assistant general manager, making his way across the park, noticed smoke coming from behind the Ghost Ship venue. As one ride vehicle came to the unload station, guests got off and told the attractions manager they smelled smoke. Ghost Ship was on fire, with riders inside. The 75-year-old wooden venue was filled with flammable amusement props and false ceilings that easily went up in flames. Being an older building, the venue did not have an installed sprinkler system to control the fire. Thankfully, without hesitation, park employees reacted and successfully evacuated the 6 guests who were inside the attraction. Kennywood's assistant general manager ran through the burning attraction to ensure no guests were trapped inside. It was clear, but the park still had a critical issue to put out. Kennywood's 15-man fire brigade responded to the incident, quickly attempting to stop the flames from spreading until local fire departments arrived. The fire was fierce, affecting adjacent attractions. One Kennywood employee was quoted saying, quote, "It was just unreal. It was hotter than hell," unquote. The thick, black smoke was said to have been seen for miles. Fire crews poured streams of water on the hungry fire, but they needed more help. With so many firefighters on the scene, they didn't have enough nearby fire hydrants for everyone. The firefighters resourcefully started to suction water from the park's lagoon through their hoses to overwhelm the growing fire. With the Ghost Ship area of the park roped off, Kennywood remained open during the incident as about 2,000 guests watched and many rides were still operating. The circumstances intensified with high temperatures from the fire, causing one firefighter to collapse. Some Kennywood employees offered support by serving the firefighters donuts, soda, and ice water, while younger employees manned hoses to help. After about 2.5 hours after the first signs of smoke, crews extinguished the fire completely. No reported injuries occurred aside from a firefighter being treated for smoke inhalation. The historic dance hall venue, however, was devastated. All that remained was a smoldering pile of ashes and the building's decimated remains. Over half a century of spectacular memories went up in flames. A legacy of music, dancing, skating, laughter, and beloved attractions were gone. The fire was likely caused due to an electrical short in the historic building's wiring. Regardless of how it started, the fire cost about $400,000, or about $2 million by today's standards, worth of destruction and damage, including a few nearby attractions. But the park was already looking forward to the future. The very next day, maintenance crews were swift to clean up the site and repair damaged attractions nearby. The area reopened to guests within a few days after, almost as if nothing had happened. The area was restored into a grassy green space with nice landscaping. In the 1976 season, 1 year after the fire, the former dance hall and Ghost Ship location served as a plaza for the park's Kiddieland. As the years passed, a few attractions have operated on the former site of Ghost Ship, though nothing would match the Lost Dark ride's scale and popularity. The location is now occupied by a looping swing called Aero 360. While the presence of Ghost Ship faded within moments, its classic spirit and significance linger in the park that still operates today as a vast time capsule of theme park history.